Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Arch Lector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you all know, we're covering The Blade itself, the first book in the original trilogy. We'll be covering Never Bet Against the Magus and the ideal audience in this episode. So let's get started. Again, just want to thank you all for your engagement, your support, and just please to remind you guys to follow us on social
You sound so tired when you say that, Jeff.
I'm a broken man. Just follow us on our goddamn social media pages. It'd be fucking nice. It would be nice.
Jeff, please.
And our YouTube.
They have their own lives.
Wait, what are lives? And our YouTube page, Harrison and George, you guys want to talk about this stuff?
Yeah, we've been posting quite a few YouTube videos up on the page. We should be promoting it here soon on Reddit as well about this time this episode comes out. And we're pretty proud of the work we've been putting out. George has come up with a couple of videos, or he's making up a video. One we talked about last week. It should be out this week.
You're the real star
be.
there, Harrison.
Yeah.
You've been putting out some stuff that I would never even thought of in a million years. So
Thanks, George.
kudos to you, man.
Thanks, man. I've just been making content that I've always wanted to make, especially for First Law. Just some fun ideas. The First Law is a big open world, and I want to explore it. So, if you guys check out the YouTube page and follow it, and see if you guys like it. You never know.
They will like it. All right, moving on. Our next segment is the best meme of the week, since we're doing 2 chapters again this week. So, George, you want to...
And we have Reddit user The Bloody Nine, which is just perfect. And he's almost comfortable, which we're going to put up in the description. And it's just Glock's sort of duality, you know, when he's talking about somebody else or himself, the body floating by the docks. And it's happy and sad. And I generally don't know which one's which.
You can't tell if it's the sad one is that he's not dead yet or what.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the complexity of Glock.
So yeah, thank you, The Bloody Nine, for that.
Thank you, Bloody Nine. We like you. That was a good one. See, we moved away from the whole nepotism, favoritism with Sir Spaceman, right?
Yeah.
Whom we still love dearly.
We do love him dearly.
Of course.
Great. So, let's get to our first chapter read-through, which is Never Bet Against a Magus. Wonder why? So we come upon Logan, Baez, and Kwai attending what appears to be the final match of the contest. And Baez asks Logan if this reminded him of his duels, and Logan flashes back, and he's like, some difficult memories there.
Yeah, he's got like trauma there.
Yeah. You mean he's got trauma or he's inflicted trauma? Bum, bum, bum.
He is the trauma.
He is trauma embodied. But he does note that none were as loud or as packed as this one. I do like the note that he said that although each of his duels actually had like real world implications, ramifications, whereas they're just doing it for shits and giggles here in the Union.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's utterly bewildered by this. It's just like, wait, so you're just gonna pretend to fight? And every time he refers to it, he calls it the sword game.
Mm-hmm.
He
just doesn't. He can't call it a fight.
Yeah, sword game. It doesn't make sense. They're not trying to kill each other, but they're not trying to be nice. I'm confused.
Yeah.
It's funny. It really is just like how he this is basically the advent of prize fighting, or the fantastical equivalent of prize fighting, and Logan's just like, I'm not about it. He's like, I'm a soldier, a former soldier, what have you. This is stupid.
I think he's more like.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, I think he's probably a bit more like a little bit offended that this is kind of like a fun game whenever it was so serious to him in the North.
Yeah, that makes sense. George, you were saying?
Like, we get a little bit of his he's a bit angry, isn't he, that people are coming to see this, like you said, Harrison, this game where he literally butchered a man for sport, and everyone's like, yeah,
Yeah, fuck 'em.
Like, what's the difference there, man? It really
Um,
speaks to Logan's sort of internal thought
Yeah.
process.
Well, it's kind of like I think he's also a little upset with himself to a certain degree. And this isn't a spoiler to say he takes some pride in the fact that he won those duels, and that he has done certain actions, but he doesn't take pride in it anymore. And so I think he's a little upset with himself that it was kind of a game to him before, anyways. And so now
Mhm.
he's upset that these other people think it's a game too. Whenever looking back, he's like, it wasn't a game.
Right. It's
Mm.
probably more like he what he sees in the people like Gorst and Giselle and the bloodlust of the crowd supposedly is like a reflection of like what he did to poor Shamma Heartless a bit. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
internal
Right. Yeah. Good point.
And I really like this note here. It's quite interesting that he fought Tolduru for a bloody half hour. I don't watch a lot of fighting, but half an hour is a long, long time.
That's main event
That's-
time. That's main event time. Yeah.
I mean, but no breaks though. Think about that.
Yeah, no breaks.
Mm.
No
And to the
That's
death.
fucking nuts, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like championship fight in mixed martial arts is 25 minutes, and a championship fight in boxing is about roughly the same, depending how many rounds, 10 to 12 rounds, 3 minutes each. So like 30 minutes. So yeah, it's a long time. It's a long fucking time. Can you imagine being in a circle surrounded by fucking barbarians and you're stuck in there, and for 30 minutes you got to figure out a way to survive? And it's
Yeah,
with
that
the
is,
giant fucker too, with the giant motherfucker. That's wild.
That's a good point, Jeff. That's pretty stressful.
No wonder he just, we'll save that. We'll save that. But he does. I do like a bit here too, George. Where he wonders that if he had fallen or failed that during any of those duels, would Bethod be king of the Northmen as he is now?
Yeah, he
What do you
kind of
guys think?
he's kind of guilty for that because then he goes on to think, would they be at war with the Union? And,
Right,
He
right.
thinks about would there be a war going on where people are dying? I think he feels a little guilty about that.
And I like how this entire time he's just been sat there. Baez has already moved on. And he's just like, you're right. You're right. He's like, this isn't like my fights. He's like, what? No, that was like 10 minutes ago I asked you that.
Yeah, Vibes was like, I don't actually give a shit about your fights, bro.
Well, he does. He does. He like when Logan's like, I don't know anything about this. Baez is like, what? You don't know anything? The champion of the North, the Bloody Nine, the most feared man. And then Logan's like, can you shut the fuck up, please?
Yeah.
And then Baez is like, so since you have been in all these fights, who do you think is gonna win? And Logan looks him up and down, and he's like, Gorse, obviously. And Baez is like, oh really? Would you like to make a bet against that? And he doesn't really have anything else to bet on other than his honor. But Logan agrees.
Yeah. I
Much
like
to Malachus
Go
Quai's warnings against Stephen.
Yeah. Malachus quiet. I mean, he seems a bit off. I don't know. I don't
think you're right about this one, Jeff.
Huh?
I don't think you're
I
right
don't know
about
what you're talking
thinking.
about.
Righty.
Anyways, so
All right, so okay, Baez and Logan make a bet, and I like how Logan he sees that like Giselle's quick, he's fast. He's like, okay, so he has some competencies,
Skill.
but he's like, he looks at Gorse and he's like, this motherfucker. He's like, it's gonna be this guy. And then Baez is like, sure, and they'll bet for honor because Baez is an asshole. He just wants he
because
needs-
it's not a game to Gorse. That's what he can tell.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for Giselle, it's not a game either. At this point, it's life or death from what he's seen Gorse do to other people, right? And then our point of view switches over to Giselle here, and as he gets ready to take on Gorse, and he's definitely nervous. Like everyone who's anyone is in attendance. Even the king is there, and he's awake. Giselle is, he's psyching himself up for the match. He's telling himself that he can do it. That all of his training has prepared him for this moment. So he walks up to the circle. The referee lines them up. The match starts. And Gorse
Smacks him.
Gorse first cut destroys all hope Giselle. just smashes his steel, and Giselle's doing all he can to just block and dodge the incoming swings, right? He's getting his ass whipped.
Yeah, Gorst is just an absolute fucking beast. He just goes for it.
Mhm.
I think we've seen this before as well, but Giselle just doesn't stand a chance.
No. And this is what, like, I think we talked about this last week, George and Harrison. Like, Gorst is huge and he's strong, and that obviously lends itself to his fighting style. But he's very quick and he knows positioning, right? Like he's always like he's rarely in the wrong position from what we could see in the book. And
He's just very disciplined and
Very.
trained. He trains every day. Yeah.
He never gives an opening or anything like that. There's no way that Giselle can just sneak one in. And then when he does, it's sort of like a trap, and he's just like, "Nah, fuck you."
exactly.
Yeah, he just outclasses him in every way. Like even Galactor's like, he's basically as good as me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love this description of Gorst where it says he looks like a man having a piss, involved in a mundane and faintly distasteful task that must simply be done with as soon as possible.
When was that? I didn't even see that.
Galactor's
just-
point of view,
Oh, Glock's point of view. Okay.
I believe.
No, it's Giselle's just before
Oh,
Gorst
okay,
gets the
yeah.
first cut.
Really?
There's a lot of perspective from this
There's
chapter.
a
you know,
lot.
sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
It's all good. But then, Gorst just, when they get into a lock, so if their 4 steels are all locked together, and he just goes, nope, and just flings them away.
Yeah, from the very beginning and throughout this entire fight, it's basically that Giselle can somewhat hold his own, but Perimeter and Gorst is way more skilled, and he's fighting to like kill. He's not fighting just to win. He's fighting to maim and to destroy.
Mhm.
And so
Because that's how
Giselle
he
is
can ensure
outclassed.
victory.
Yeah, exactly. And Giselle's just outclassed.
For sure.
And I love how there just seems to not be a rule. This seems like a bit of an oversight that, the steels all have to be the same length. But this guy can just have one that's 4 times as heavy as everyone else.
Yeah,
just
that's one of my
because.
notes. Like there's not any rules, but it seemed like you said the only regulation is that the steels have to be the same length, which is like okay.
Well, I will say this, that a lot of these people who do the contest, in fact, everybody who goes to the contest, except for a few exceptions, are people who are looking to become famous and to be loved and to be liked and to move up in society.
Mhm.
And so they want to do what is typically normal in society, which is, oh, let me play by the rules. Oh, what does everybody use? Oh, I'll do that. I'll be the best at fencing or whatever. Gorst doesn't give a fuck about that. He just wants to fucking win. He wants a challenge.
No, but he wants that. He wants that the fame. He does. If
He does want the fame, but he doesn't. He
wants to be
it for a
recognized as the
different
best
reason.
swordsman.
Yeah, he wants it
Mm.
for a different reason. He doesn't care about being famous. He just wants to be like
held in
the-
high regard.
the
I
best-
know.
Respected
Yeah,
and
yeah,
taken
yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
For reasons that we will see later in the chapter.
Later on, we'll see it. Yeah. So yeah, Giselle's doing all he can, and until finally he slipped and fell due to like a block, and 1 point is given to Gorst. And so then the next segment, right, the next portion, the match starts again, and Gorst comes at him even harder, and Giselle keeps trying to block. Then for a moment, like George, you said it, there's an opportunity that Giselle sees, right? And he goes to strike, but then Gorst somehow blocks that attempt, and then the next attempt, and then they're locked in together. And this description is hilarious, is when they're locked in, and like their blades have, I guess locked together, and Giselle's trying with all his might just to push and push and push, and then there was no motion from Gorst. He just went, and then he just like shoulders him out of position. It was great.
Yeah. Like a child might fling away a boring toy.
Mhm. And then he catches him, like he follows him in, he pushes in, and then he hits him with the blow with the sword to the ribs and yows him. And so that's 2-0, right? They both walk to their corners, to their enclosures. Giselle limps basically. He barely makes it. And West, like, he takes a look at it, and Giselle's expecting to see like a caved in side on his ribs, just caved in, but it's just a big red welt. And then this is where we learn about the rules with the steals. Wes is like complaining. He's like, "God damn it, this is crazy! how the fuck is he supposed to survive out there? And then Varuz, he's just giving him hope, but he's
He's like-
not really giving him any hope and no actual advice.
He like technically is not against the rules.
Yeah.
yeah.
It
It's
doesn't say
come
anything.
on. Just try your best anyway.
Yeah, you got this. You can do this. No one's too strong for you. And then Varuz looked doubtful. And then we switch over to our boy Glockta, and he is having the time of his life. He is just he's worried that he's gonna laugh so much he's gonna turn convulsive. That's all. And then he does give some props to Giselle. You know, he says he's competent and that he would be champion in a mediocre year. But he's like, Gorst is on another level. And a match between Gorst and Glockta's prime would be really cool to have seen. You know? Oh, man. Can you imagine that?
Oh, definitely. And
because-
he definitely knows his stuff here, doesn't he? Like, he knows what he's talking about. He knows where the mistakes are being made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's not guarding his left side well enough and all that.
Right. And he knows that it's not Gorst is just swinging away blindly. Like, he's smart. Like, Gorst, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, Glockta is like basically like a super Giselle. You know, like he can do everything Giselle is doing, but better. So
Yeah.
and Giselle's doing. I have to give props to Giselle to a certain degree, right? Like, yeah, he is struggling, and he's already losing, but he's holding his own far better than anybody would have probably expected him to do with Gorst. No, it's honestly, even as readers, knowing how Gorst is in the future. Giselle's actually really not that bad.
Yeah, he's not terrible. He's good. You know, he's just
yeah.
not. There's just levels. You know.
That level, right? So the Glockta is basically just like, oh, this contest is won. Look at him go.
Oh yeah. Because we don't forget so Giselle's forced out of bounds. It sees that's another point, so it makes it 3-0. So this is best out of 7 touches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Glockta loves it all, but you know, as they resume the match after the third one, Glockta's like, all right, it's time to leave because, you know, got to beat that traffic home, guys. And then Giselle is about to lose in the sweep. But apparently at the last moment after Gorst is harrying Giselle to the edge of the circle and he's about to, that final swing that's just going to destroy Giselle's confidence and his breastbone. Giselle somehow.
And he somehow moves out of the way.
Gets out of the way at the last second, yeah. And he gives Gorst a cut across his leg. Now Glockta's like, what the fuck? He knows something's wrong. Like, no one moves like that.
And he sees so-called Baez sitting near the front, fixed with concentration. I like how Glockta makes the connection that something's going on, but he doesn't go. You know, he still thinks that Baez is fake, even though there's no way that he could be doing anything that isn't magical and making it work.
Right.
He's still going so-called Baez.
I would say,
Baez. Yeah. Go ahead, Harrison.
I was just gonna say it's like just like Glockta knows that there's got to be something there because he sees Baez. He knows Baez has been doing shit, and like you said, it's funny because he doesn't actually want to admit it. Yeah, he admits it pretty soon here that maybe it is magic, but like, it is really funny how he just refuses to believe it because then that gives credit to it takes away from his intelligence. You know, it takes away from the fact that things can be explained by what he sees. And I like that fact because it is something that a lot of, I think, smart people fall into is like, no. I actually know what this is. That's I know what's going on. That's bullshit.
There's no way it could be magic. It's not real. It's just not real.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know how to explain this. Like, he sees that Giselle Dan Luthor is a new man. He's reinvigorated. But Glockta is like, like he's looking at Baez. He's like, that boy, that guy, that fucker. He's too focused. Something's wrong here. And so he's like, something's very wrong here. And then we switch back over to Logan. And Logan's like, fucking.
Say one thing for the first of the Magi. Say he's a fucking cheater.
Yeah. Logan is pissed. He's like, you know, if you cheat in the duel in the North, it'll get you the Bloody Cross. Which is, who wants to explain what the Bloody Cross is?
It's pretty much disembowelment, isn't it? Like hanging, drawing a quarter in without the hanging.
Right. You basically fillet people.
Yeah, you cut them open and pull the guts out, which is lovely.
Very, very lovely.
A fitting punishment for certain people in our world, but not very many.
And considering that, well, the way Logan was talking about the duels in the north, so much happens. It's the only reason why Bethod's in power.
Mm-hmm.
So many things turn on those duels that, cheating is a big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas, Bias is just like, who gives a fuck?
He's like, well, we're not in the north now, are we, silly boy?
Yeah.
And then apparently Giselle has done so well that now it's 3-3. He gives Gorse a cut across the face, and it's all tied up now. And our point of view switches back over to Giselle. But what were you gonna say, Harrison?
I was gonna say the crowd is like fucking losing their minds. They're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, he's bringing it back. He's like,
This is insane. This is insane.
Luther.
Oh, good. Our boy is amped, right? He's flying high. He thinks he's the greatest swordsman ever. Right?
I love the way Pacey delivers that first line. He's like, Giselle knew he was good, but he never believed he'd be that good.
Yeah. And he's flying high, and so he gets ready. He goes back out for the match. The match resumes, and all of that invincible feeling, all of that just is gone. He's like, uh-oh. He just is back to normal, and Gorse is on his ass. He's beating the bricks off.
I like to think that Logan sort of like jostles Bias so he loses concentration.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, right. Or maybe his Bias, the flair for the dramatic. He's just such a dramatic queen. He's just.
I always imagine, especially after knowing what we know, is that Baez let go of it for a minute,
Mhm.
let it make the stakes higher.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly what I'm trying to say. And Gorse is, beating the bricks off him, and somehow Giselle loses his long steel. That's it. He's about to lose, but then Giselle is supercharged once again, and dodges the next blow. And at this point, is fighting Gorse with just one short steel, just one. He's fucking doing some John Wick shit, and he disarms Gorse with both of his steels, and then he just kind of jabs him softly, boop, in the ribs, and that's it. He wins the match.
And I love that. And I love how, like, the first half of this chapter is a very long sort of fight scene. It's describing every single moment. And then once Bias gets in control and he starts helping out Giselle, it just goes so quick. It's like, less than 10 lines. And it's again, like, Gorse is just shocked here. And then, this is the one thing that I don't like about Stephen Pacey's version of this book, especially. He just doesn't do the voice right.
Okay, so that's what I was actually going to point this out. So go ahead, talk about it, because we hear Gorse because he hoists Giselle up on his shoulders to celebrate. Like, Gorse is actually a very good loser.
It's fantastic. He's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, and he's actually smiling.
Yeah,
he's always been described as being like bored, but he's just like, oh,
yeah. And
well, good on you.
Exactly.
You deserve it.
Yeah, and Giselle can't help but still be a cunt.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever. This is my victory. Don't try to, siphon off some of the glory. And it's like, Giselle, what the fuck?
I mean, I will say this though, right? Is that I noticed this last time, especially if I was trying to pay attention to this, like why he was so cheerful and like, oh, you won. He says, you beat me fairly.
Yeah.
If I don't want to spoil too much here, but I will say this: Gorse is fucking unbeatable, and he always looks for somebody to beat him. And if you think about it, the only reason that he likes Giselle here and in the future, to be frank, is because he's the only person who has beaten him.
And in his mind, fairly, because he doesn't know about Bias.
Right, exactly. He doesn't know that Bias helped him. So in his mind, Giselle is the only person in the entire circle of the world who is better than him. He's his only real challenge.
Right.
Everybody else is fucking sauce to him, Nothing.
And I think it'd be fair to say that this sort of sets up Gorse's character for the rest of the trilogy. Rest of the series.
He's looking for that now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And yeah, like you said, George, Gorse congratulates Giselle in a unexpected voice. But yeah, I thought Pacey's voice, because I listened to it too, I thought it would have been higher, like high pitch. But then maybe I'm.
So I'm just going to take the opportunity to redo it here.
Oh,
I was about to say, we're gonna redo it.
George.
If anyone from Golanx is listening and you want to just paste this into this part of the book, you can. You know, you have my permission.
Go for it, George. I was gonna do it myself.
You beat me. Fair and square. I'd like to be the first to congratulate you. You deserve it.
What the fuck?
That's good, bro.
But that's really good. That's exactly what I was thinking when it says like high pitched voice.
Well, it's also what we see later on.
Oh,
when Casey
wait.
redoes his voice.
Strangely high and soft. I don't get that though. What does it mean by soft?
You beat
Like
me.
this.
You beat me fair and square. Ooh la la. I'd like to be the first to
Ooh la la.
congratulate you. Oh, you guys are hilarious. I love you guys. All right. So everyone's congratulating Giselle. You know, Gorse lowers him down. You know, his dad's there. He's happy, you know. And although Giselle notices that his brother doesn't look too happy, it's a little, wow, sibling rivalry there. And then out
The
of nowhere,
stodgy, envious bastard.
that piece of shit. He's always been jealous of me and my jaw. And then our boy Baez, our wizard, he congratulates Giselle too. And Giselle's a little taken aback by it. He was like, oh, okay, thanks. But Giselle's dad, he doesn't look too happy. It's like he's seen a ghost. And then Giselle's confused by this, but then Giselle's dragged to the king's enclosure by Lord Marshal Varuz for more celebration and congratulations. Reynaud is there, and
He actually has a line, George. We weren't sure last week, guys, if Reynaud had a line, but we are sure now. He does have a line.
He does. Well done indeed.
And that's it.
Good job, Reynaud. Good job. But then who's right after Reynaud is our boy, Ladislaw.
He's like, incredible, capital, amazing, spectacular. Never saw such a thing. I always knew you'd do it. You were always my man.
Captain
You forgot.
Luther.
You forgot capital.
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 And then Captain Luther. Do it for me, Harrison. Just do it once.
Captain Luther, you're my man.
Fucking love it.
That's what the fans want.
That's what they want. We gotta give it to them.
We're a slave to your audience.
Slave. And then we see Princess Therese, right? Icy. I say it's a nice way to say that, you know.
And I love how she's doing the typical, you know, the really light clap, like
yeah, with the two fingers. The two fingers. Beep 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 beep.
And she's probably just sitting there thinking, "Fuck me! Look at all these men just being stupid and
These
hitting
idiots.
each other with sticks all day."
In Styria, our men are better.
You think about it. You're a well-educated woman. You know, you've been told this is your duty to go serve your country, is to go marry this man. You meet the man. He's supposed to be this regal king of the Union, most powerful man in the world, and he's like, capital, you're my man, Captain Luther. I had 100 marks on you. It's like, Jesus Christ, bro.
That is hilarious. So true. You know, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, because Ladislaw is the worst kind of represent. Like
he's just the worst.
He's like, if it was Reynaud, I bet Therese would be like, all right. I mean, he doesn't have Styrian blood, but whatever. Like, I'll just deal with it.
But Luthor, she's like, oh my, well, not Luthor.
Ladislaw.
Ladislaw, yeah. She's like, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Yeah, I feel for Therese. I really do. I've always felt for her, but I didn't see this initial impression. Like what you said, like, oh, she meets Ladislaw, who's gonna be her husband, and he is just this fucking goofball. But we love to hate him.
No, we don't. Yeah, okay, to say.
We love to hate him. So,
then the king
is himself.
The king is there.
Yeah.
Lord Hoff has to wake him up.
He elbows the king awake, right? He's just like pink, pink.
Come on.
And he's like, Reynaud, my son.
Yeah, that ooh.
And then Giselle's like, no, I'm not your son, and he doesn't give a fuck. He just hugs him. He's like, my son, Raina, I'm so glad you're back. When I'm gone, Ladislaw will need your help. He's so weak, and the crown is such a heavy weight. You were always better suited for it. Such a heavy weight.
And I love how everyone's standing around like, oh my
Oh,
god,
boy.
what the fuck?
I like how Reynold and Ladislaw look at each other and they look back at their dad. They're like, oh my. Therese is just like, what am I marrying into? This is too much.
Yeah. It's like when you meet your girlfriend's parents for the first time
And it's a
and they
shit
just
show.
start arguing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh god.
You're like, Jesus Christ, they can't even put on a front for me.
You're
Fuck.
like, this is what I'm having to deal with every Sunday. Jesus Christ.
Every Sunday. Oh man. Oh man. It was everyone's in shock at what just happened. And this was just the most embarrassing moment of Giselle's life. Everyone but then the rest of the crowd didn't hear it. They just see that the king hugged Giselle, because they can't hear what's being said so far away. So, yowza. So, what do you guys rate that chapter?
I'm gonna give this one an 8
Oh.
of 9 fingers. I love this chapter. I think this is the most POVs we've had so far in one chapter. I think it switches once or twice back in an earlier chapter. But seeing this from all these people's different perspectives, Glockta, Logan, and Giselle, it's incredible. And the fight is great. Gorse just being an absolute bro and just saying, yeah, you won. Well done. That's good. I love it.
I love that.
And then, of course, the cherry on top is the king being an absolute buffoon at the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 8 out of 9.
I love that score. That's my score. I love that score.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a contrarian, drop it just slightly lower.
Oh, 7.
I know.
Damn
the only
it.
reason
It's all
why
good. It's all good, man.
is because the only reason why is because it is just the fight, and it is really good character work, especially for like Logan, and if you know what's going on, Baez, and it's really good, like subtle things going on.
Yeah.
But it is just the fight, and it doesn't actually mean, I don't know. I feel like the stakes aren't as high. Not that the stakes have to be high for it to be a good chapter, but I feel like it is, since it is just the fight. It's not as good
Because it's not really
one-
moving the plot forward, right?
right. It's not my personal, but it's still fucking amazing. I love all the people. It's the same reason you guys said.
I get
7
that.
out of 9 for me.
Okay. 8 out of 9 for me. I mean, I like it because like when Logan talks about his duels in very brief moments and comparing it to like this spectacle, and he's like, this is just silly. I just makes me think that his duels had to have been nuts to like witness in person. Like, oh man, he's doing some wild shit in that circle. And I like how Giselle thought he was prepared and totally wasn't. This chapter was great, although a couple of my notes was, why in the blue hell would Baez interfere? For a first time reader, why would he?
No
Bit of
clue, bro.
intrigue.
Got
No
no clue
clue.
at all.
No clue. All right. Poor Glockta, he didn't get the result he was looking forward to. Oh.
Yeah, and I don't like how we don't get Glockta's sort of opinion on this.
We
know that he's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But I'd love to witness the moment from Glockta's perspective of Giselle beating him, Glockta just being like, oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah, man.
That's
Yeah,
just
right.
ruined my
like-
day.
He's like,
Right.
of course, why not?
And wonder what's the deal with Giselle's dad. And also, it's gonna be drama in the royal family now. Come on, Ladislaw does not seem like the kind of person that would be like, okay, dad's just being old and senile, and it's not, nothing to do with Reynaud. Like I imagine there's probably like some interpersonal issues.
Which brings us nice and neatly to our character spot.
Character spot again is the king, right?
Gustav the Fifth.
He is he's kind of like a sad. We had to see more of his character here, where he's kind of sad. It's like, yeah, he's completely delusional. He thinks that Giselle is his son, but he also is like coming from a place of genuine like love, where he's like, oh, Reynold, you were always the better one to be king. You was more suited to it too. He says more suited to it. He doesn't say you're the better son. He says you're more suited to it.
Right.
Which shows he actually loves his children and that he wants his best for them. And he doesn't really want them to have the crown because it's such a heavy burden. And yeah, he's a fat fuck. Yeah, he's obviously given up on life. Yeah, he's sick and stuff. But like, it's like how we think that the king is just some one note character. Like all these other characters we like to point out, and it turns out he's actually got some depth to him, and it's kind of sad.
It's nice to go from just seeing this guy as sort of like a bit of an oaf. He's just always asleep. He's really overweight. He's always ill. He's clearly a bit demented. But there's something deep down in there that's just very sad, and he's quite a tragic character, really.
No, I mean, just wonder like when did he start declining in health and in his mental faculties?
Because the close council was clearly like adapted to this sort of situation where they've all taken control. They've basically doing whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's been king a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been king. He's been one of the longest reigning monarchs, I think, and he's been around a long time. So, I mean, think about it. If he's been around for 25 years and he's been going senile for 5 years, and that's plenty of time for people to adjust.
He's been king for 25 years? Are those longer?
Might have been 30 years.
I could be wrong, but okay.
I think it's probably 30 years or so.
But it is quite normal for for royal families to sort of inherit when they're in their 40s, 50s.
True.
Because
Okay.
obviously they're going to have the best health care most of the time.
Well, that's true. I will say this though, is that we do know that there is a painting of a young Guslav as a newly crowned king later on in the series.
Oh, so if he's young, we're thinking 20s.
He was younger. Yeah.
Oh, so then he might be reigning for what, 40 years? 40
That's
years?
what's sad about this too, is that King Gustav is talk about how he's an old crazy fuck, but he's probably only in his 50s. He's just aged up so much because he hasn't taken care of himself, and he's obviously got some sort of like health issue.
For sure. He does. He definitely does. Oh, poor King Guslav. Sometimes it isn't good to be the king.
Oh,
Mel Brooks callback.
I would say in the first Law series, it's never good to be the king.
No.
That's true. It never is. Yeah. So,
And you know what? Knowing what we know about the series, I don't blame him for sort of just turning to the sort of hedonistic, eat as much as you want, drink as much as you want, and just ruin your life because
Yeah.
there isn't
Because,
much of a point to it, is
right?
there?
Yeah, it's noble when other characters, which we won't talk about right now, don't do that. But it's also like you can't be upset with him, like you said, George, for doing those things. I mean, a lot of people would.
Yeah,
Would
it's
give up.
understandable. It really is understandable for sure. I would do it. Shit.
I mean, I'm doing it right now.
So am I, putting some in my tea.
A drink.
Oh,
Can't wait. I cannot wait.
drink.
Oh, man.
It's only the next book, Jeff.
Only the next. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then Best Served Cold, man, that's a good one. Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, so that was our character spot. Unless you guys have anything else to add.
No? All
All
good.
right, good. All right. So we'll move on to our second and final chapter read through of this episode, and it is the ideal audience. Here, does somebody else want to take it? Go or.
No,
Go
you
for
could.
it.
So Glocta meets Archlector Salt in his office, right? He discuss Glocta's investigation into Baez and company. And a lot of what Glocta knows, Salt either already knows or dismisses. And Glocta's just like, all right. So
What's even the fucking point?
what the fuck? And then he mentions the mangled body, right? That he found, him and Severard. But since Salt had said that Goyle mentioned it, and there was nothing to worry about.
And I
Glocta's
love
like,
this sort of ultimatum that he gives him right there. It's like, did I make the wrong decision? And he's just like, no, definitely not. 100%. You did 100% correct there. No worries.
Yep.
Why is the collector just like, oh yes, of course.
Right,
Why
right.
not?
I just wanted to drop that in, but yeah, nope, totally. Yep, we're good. We're good. And so then Glocta proceeds to procure the scroll that he stole from the Adeptus Historical.
The fucking crippled bastard.
And here we can tell that Salt is like, ooh, interesting. And he kind of has a plan already in mind. And then when he sees the scroll, he's like, ooh, this is definitely going to work. Yeah. And he's excited to unmask Baez's so-called deception at the celebration dinner for Giselle's victory the following night. So then our point of view switches over to Logan, and he sat at a table next to Baez. Kwai's not there because apparently apprentices aren't appreciated. And it's already the next night, right? So we already just shifted, like we jumped in forward a day, and we're at the dinner, and Logan is comparing the differences between eating at a hall in the north versus where he's at right now, and stark difference. And he's especially confused as to what a spoon is.
Yeah.
What is this?
And this is the thing. This is kind of highlights the difference between the Union and the North, because
Mm.
the North is clearly a medieval or even pre-medieval society, whereas the Union is well into its Renaissance.
Mhm.
So coming here, going from eating with a knife, maybe even just eating with your fingers, whatever, to having 20 sets of cutlery, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And he fucking looks at the plant. He's like, "Is that an appetizer?" I fucking love this part. He just
When
looks
he
at
eats
the
the
He
plant.
just starts eating it.
He eats the flour, right?
And his description of it too, and he was like, "Yeah, it's not the best flavor, but at least it's crunchy."
Logan's just so out of his element. Like all the fashion that Logan's seeing, that's a stark contrast as well, you know? And yeah, he bites one of the flowers that's used for decoration. And then someone comments on it, right? They're like, huh. And it's Major West. And turns out he can speak the northern language. And Logan's happy to talk to somebody. And after they introduce to each other, West comments on, Nine Fingers. I feel like growing up in England, I heard stories about somebody called the Bloody Nine. Yeah, yeah. He like drinks blood and stuff. Wes is making a joke, and then Logan's just like,
No, I never heard of him.
"Whoop, yep,
Yeah.
yeah."
And I love the delivery there from Spacey. That it's so sort of like trying to. He looks so guilty. He sounds so guilty. Like, no, I never heard of him.
It's like, nope.
What a coincidence! Ah,
I must have been in a different part of the north. I don't know what you're talking about. He's doing that nervous laugh. So, but then Wes moves on. You know, he's joking, so he doesn't even pay attention to it. So he talks about Bethod. He asks him about Bethod, and Logan admits to fighting for him. And so then Wes is like, "Oh, so you know his tactics, how he makes war?" And then Logan's like, "Yes, I do." And then they get to talking about how Bethod operates in wartime, and he goes on to describe like even the caste system, the warrior like structure, like there's thralls, and carls, named men, etc. And Bethod is no slouch as a war leader. We learned that.
yeah. Bethod is, like he says, is the best war leader since Scarling Hoodless, and Scarling Hoodless single-handedly, with even a more ancient and far behind North, was able to push back the Union out of taking over the entirety of the North, and they only took England. And so that's the greatest compliment that Logan can give to strategy that he's aware of.
Yeah.
I would say that there's another character within the series called Stolicus, right?
Stolicus, yeah.
Yeah, and he is basically was an ancient old empire general who basically was a great conqueror, and he was an emperor, and he wrote books and all that. He's basically like Sun Tzu,
Yeah.
and I would
like
say
a combination of Sun Tzu and Caesar.
that right. Sun Tzu
Yeah.
and Caesar, yeah.
Caesar, Marcus
And-
Aurelius. Mhm.
And Bethod is on that level basically. You know, he's and the things he says here too. You know, he's where you don't expect him, and where you are expecting him, don't expect him to be there. And
Yeah.
you know, he knows how to use his troops all effectively. He's well read. He's
Mhm.
read books. He's talked about, you know, buying war horses and heavy armor and flatbows, things that the North are not used to dealing with. Basically, this is the first time I realized that Bethod is not someone you want to fucking go to war with.
No.
He is
Right.
a monster of war, and he knows that he's been doing it for 10 plus years, and he's a master at it. Which I just like how it's all delivered from Logan's perspective. It's like he's kind of reliving it in a way, talking about it. He's kind of proud of it too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is, you know, a little ashamed of it.
And I like this because it kind of breaks the first rule of writing, which is, you know, show, don't tell. but just this sort of recollection from Logan's perspective, it just works so well.
Yeah, it's
And just giving
natural.
you a little bit of an exactly, it is natural because it is just an impromptu conversation with some stranger that you've just met at somewhere where you really don't want to be.
Right.
I mean, how terrifying that would be. As a general, you're like getting advice from one of your advisors or whatever, and he says, "Oh yeah, by the way, if he's running away, he's probably not actually running away, so don't pursue him." Because in war, like if the troops start pulling back or start fleeing, you typically assume, especially in the heat of battle, oh, okay, they're retreating, we have the advantage, push on. But Logan's basically like, no, don't do that, because he's probably gonna kick your ass.
like a fainted route, fainted retreat, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, you're so educated, George. Jesus fuck.
Do you want to explain Chekhov's gun or now? You want to just move right past it?
No, we'll just skip straight over.
We'll skip right over that. All right. So, as Logan's explaining everything about Bethod to Major West, we switch over to Giselle, his point of view, and he actually isn't having the best time at this dinner in his honor. He expected everyone to be basically fawning over him, but apparently he isn't the center of attention. And he's scanning the hall. He just sees like everyone's like more interested in whatever, like the person next to them instead of Giselle. But Varuz is blubbering praise over Giselle. At least that's somebody. And he notices that Ladislaw and Princess Therese are arguing. Ooh. Drama in the Bahamas. And and everyone is basically busy with other conversations that are more important than Giselle's victory. And he notices Glocta seated there, and he's like, why is he there? But he also notices that Glocta keeps throwing suspicious looks at Giselle. And he's like affronted by this. He's like, what the fuck? How dare he?
I just love the fact that everyone is... This is one of the first chapters. Yeah, we see it in the previous chapter, but here we really get an emphasis on it and what everybody's priorities are. Like everybody thinks like, oh, there's this big thing going on. Like, Giselle's like, they should be paying attention to me. Glock's just like, what the fuck is going on? There's a conspiracy. Logan doesn't know where the fuck he's at. Everybody has their own perspective of what's going on, and I really like that here because he's looking at Glock, and Glock's like, you son of a bitch, I found you. I'm gonna figure you out. And that's not even it's not even on anybody else's mind at all. No one gives a fuck about him.
Yeah, Giselle's so confused, right? He notices that there's a stage, and he's just looking around. He notices that even West seems to be having a good time talking to Logan, and he like finds himself wishing he was there almost. He's like, fuck, instead of at the high table with the king and everybody else. And then he catches Glocta staring at him again, and then here we switch to Glocta's point of view, and he's like, cheating fucker.
Yeah.
He's just seething. He's seething on knowing that somehow Giselle and Baez cheated. Somehow, some way. He knows. He knows it, goddammit. And then Lord Chamberlain Hoff gets up to make a speech. And he introduces Salt, Archlector Salt, who has a surprise in store for the people in attendance. And the curtains pull back on that nearby stage, and a little play begins. Harrison, since you're the lore master, the Adeptus Historical, do you kind of want to run this through?
On the play?
Yeah, a little bit. Just like a brief.
Yeah. Basically, the play shows in a very theater style, which I love the fact that it's done in this style. It's kind of like whenever you see a very serious subject played out in like a cartoon like style story. It's not quite exactly what's happening, but the events themselves are somewhat real.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the actor who's playing Baez, who spoiler, it's not the last time we see him, is basically grieving over Juvens, and is like, I will have revenge against Canadius. And then he goes up against Canadius, and and then there's also a young boy and who's supposed to be playing a woman.
Yeah, I love that.
she dies, or he dies. They die, or they get thrown down off the tower, just like we've seen Glockter already discover with the Adeptus Historical. And then there is Canadius is, funnily enough, since he's the bad guy, he's got a fucking eye patch. He's got an eye patch, and he's like, oh, he's like the villain, even though in actuality, it's not even quite accurate. They were just people.
Mhm.
He was not like some evil villain.
Mhm.
And it's like this extrapolated play, and in the end, Bias is like, aha, I have the key, which is what the art selector was hoping to point out. What the whole point of the play was to point out, like, the original context said that Bias has the key. So if this is
Yeah.
through a Bias, he'll have the key.
Right.
And so he does this play, which honestly, let's be real here, that's a really good play. Is in front of everybody. In front of everybody, he does a play to show like the historical context. Because lots of times in previous histories and like in our own history, plays were lots of times the way that you showed history.
Yeah.
Just like when you watch a movie, you're watching based on historical events.
I mean, yeah, we've got like the Shakespeare's histories, especially where how you perceived history. I mean, most people only know the Roman Empire through like Julius Caesar. Even
Yeah.
though most of the stuff in that play doesn't really happen, it's about the context and the general feeling of it.
Right.
And it's a really good way of showing the audience, the close council, the important people of the Union. Hey, look what happened. Now look how fake this Bias is.
Yeah.
What his play is, and it's actually it's a good play.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's a smart move, like you said, Harrison. I like how Glockta is like, this is this is performed really well. Like, wow. Even Glockta's like, he's clapping along, and he's like, it's a good deal more convincing than another fake Bias I can mention.
I love that. I love that Glockta always has attention to the small things. He's like, "Oh, that's a nice line. Oh, I like that play. Oh, it's well acted." I just like those little hints. Like,
Yeah.
Glockta is in pain and stuff, but he's still a rich guy, and he has taste. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
He has
I like
taste.
that.
He has class. He just don't have teeth. That's all. And so it's the play, it continues everything. Harrison, he was just giving the description of the play, what it does, but the POV, the point of view, switches over to Logan, and he's kind of confused as to what's going on. But one thing he does know, he knows Bias is not pleased. He's like, I'm trying to scoot my chair away from this motherfucker. But
Yeah.
and then Bias does note that there's more detail in this play than in the original play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Logan's just like, uh-oh. And then I think it's at this point Logan notices that there's, it's not yet. It's a little bit later, but we switch. Okay, so we switch over our point of view back to Glockta.
No, wait. I love the bit where he's talking to the guy, like Ptolemy, or is talking to Bias through the door, and it's just like just a door in the middle of the stage, and Logan's just like, it'd be a lot easier if you just like walked around it.
Speak to him directly.
Yeah, because
doesn't
he
understand the
just
context of
does
the
not understand the concept of
He
the
does
play
not.
at all.
Yo, can I mention that Logan
He's
is
like, this is extremely ineffective.
this doesn't make any sense. And there's fucking people doing blackface in this play. Like, what the fuck? He's like, two of them were supposed to be dark skinned, I guess, but they were clearly just pale men with black paint on their face. Like, oh my god. Oh, this kind of shit has been around forever.
And it actually does make sense, because if you think about it, if you go back that far, sort of like I said earlier, like Shakespeare plays, women would be played by men.
Yeah, they would be. You're right.
And dark skinned people would be played by white skinned people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it was.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, all right, just
no defense, but
yeah, no, it's just how it was, which is true, and I get that. But it's wild. Is what I'm saying. That shit's wild. And then we switch back over to Glockta, and now at the conclusion of the play, Salt gets up and he introduces Bias to everyone. He's like, "Well, look, the real Bias here, apparently." And then we see a little verbal battle begin between the two of them. Right? There's little digs and darts, and Archlector Salt. The more this conversation goes on, the more Salt is like, my job is to make sure that I investigate all potential threats from within and without the Union, you bald bitch. And here we see that he's like, oh, this is how Bias is like so funny. He's like, I believe Lord Bias is the proper way to address me. And
so I love Salt here. Salt is just sort of, he's so confident in what he believes is right. And, he wants to outsmart this guy as much as possible, but Baez just has an answer for everything.
Yeah. He has an answer for everything. He even says,
Even going so far as to say he was the first Archlector.
yeah, no, oh shit. Yeah, he's like, he tells him, like, yeah, I've returned plenty of times. During this reign, I was the tutor to Arnault. Then I was his Lord Chamberlain. I called myself Bealoveld.
Bialaveld.
Bialoveld. That's okay. That's all right. Zoller's easier. The fuck.
And I will say this too, like right here is probably if we were all like as bystanders. Yeah, but Baez' thing was so confident, so it's like, oh, maybe it is true. But at the same time, though, some guy comes back who's been around apparently like 500 years, and he's like, oh yeah, I was the other bald guy. Oh yeah, and that bald guy too. Just in fact, ha ha. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You know, like it's like we know that Baez is being honest, but also like I can see why people are like, what the fuck, bro? You're just saying that.
Yeah.
Like
And,
what Glockter says.
Yeah,
like,
Glockta, he's shocked at the gall of this. Like he could barely contain a gasp, and he's like, "What the fuck?" He has no shame. But he's like, "How dare he?" And he's like, "Wait a minute." And he looks at the painting of Archlector Zoller and the statue of Bialoveld in the Kingsway, and he's like, both bald, stern, bearded. He's like, "No, snap out of it, Glockta, snap out of it." He's like, West is standing up top. Does that make him a legendary wizard?
I will say this though, like that Glockter earlier in the chapter when he first was talking to Archlector, he was like, maybe it is magic.
Yeah,
maybe it's all real.
Maybe it's like these little seeds of doubt are growing or festering in Glockta's mind a little bit. So we see that
I love how Archlector's Salt's basically like, well, it was said that when Baez first came to the Union, he broke the table. And would you do a demonstration for us? And he's just like, yeah, no.
I don't want to spill everybody's soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the waste of fine piece of furniture. He doesn't want to waste them. He has a healthy respect for the past. And there's like, uh-oh. Like, it's getting testier and testier. Except for Morovia. Morovia is just loving this. He's just like, oh, shit. And I still want to understand this. God damn it. We got to cover this in spoiler episodes. But we switch back to Logan. And Logan's getting nervous now. He's like, uh-oh. I can tell when people are working up to violence. And he sees the practicals. They have entered and they're lurking around like the entrance, the doorways. And he's like, uh-oh. And he knows they're there for him and Baez. He's like, shit. And
I love how Salt is basically just waiting for a moment for Baez to slip up and expose him.
Yeah, and Salt thinks he has Baez on the ropes, right? He's like, all right, either show us magic or show us the key to the house of the maker, you bitch. And then Baez is like, all right, well, he reaches into his robe and he pulls out the key. And it's just a very plain looking fucking piece of metal. and then he goes, I'll open it tomorrow. And everyone's like, oh.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that scene. It's like somebody dropped their spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like someone dropped a spoon on the floor, it clatter against the tiles. And then he's like, you know what? I'll even do you one better. So you guys have witnesses. You don't think I'm cheating you. How about I have Inquisitor Glockta and Giselle Dan Luthor to accompany us as witnesses? Everyone's just like, what the fuck?
I just love it too because Baez is, the way, especially the way Pacey delivers the line, is he's like, I'll take Glockta, yeah, and how about maybe, I don't know, Giselle Dan Luthor. Like, clearly, he didn't have to think much about the second one.
No, he didn't. He had this in the bag. He knew this. And then Archlector is like, his scorn was swapped for a stony blankness. He's just like, what? He's so like the cripple frowned as he was named. Luthor looked utterly bewildered. This dinner did not go how he thought it was gonna go for Luthor. And then Archlector gives like a little nod, a little signal for the practicals to back off, because he can't have them like swoop in now. Like Baez,
It'll look bad,
yeah. And then Logan's just like, oh God, oh thank God, oh thank God. And then Bias is like, dear me, Master Salt, you really are a hard man to please. And Salt's like, your eminence. And then
I believe your evidence is the proper term of address.
and he's like, so it is, so it is. So I guess you really won't be happy till I've broken something. So I don't want to spill everyone's soup. So and then boom, Salt's chair breaks and he falls on his ass. And then Bias is like, this is really excellent soup.
Yeah, I just love the master play of Bias here is that he not only does he shows he has the key, but he also does the magic thing. It's such a good play.
And he's
It's
just so
really good.
dismissive of everything. He's like, this is delicious. Scrumptious, I must say. Nom, 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 nom. So, that was the end of our chapter. Oh, what?
I love how it just ends there. It
Yeah.
just ends there.
Just ends there. The king,
There's no, and this is only the first course, you know.
exactly, right? The king woke up to that too because the chair cracking. He's like, what happened? So, what do you guys rate this chapter?
Harrison?
I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 9.
Okay.
It's written really well. There's some reveals here with like we see a culmination of different characters. All of our characters here, except for 2, are here at this dinner, and it's cool to see them all interact with each other and to see different dynamics. And I think it's just paced out really, really well without it dragging on too long, which is something that could have easily happened. We get a lot of little nods to future events here, foreshadowing. It's just written really, really well, and I'm gonna guess. That's what 8 out of 9.
8 out of 9. I like that.
I've got to agree. I'm going to give it an 8 and a knuckle.
An 8 and a
Shit.
knuckle. Okay.
It's just the only thing that stops it is that I want to see Galacta's perspective when the chair breaks.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only thing that's holding this back. It's just excellent soup, as Bias would say.
It is.
He'd be like, Glock would probably be something like, he's like, oh, it is. No, he must have. That chair must have been built incorrectly, and he just got lucky. It's like, bro, what the fuck?
How about you, Jeff?
8 out of 9 fingers. You know, I really like it a lot. Thought it was really well written. The tension, especially between Salt and Bias, it's like, oh man, we feel what Logan's feeling, you know. And I thought it was great. I like that this chapter. This was the second time that we mentioned the Bryn. Did we mention that, or did we mention that on the break?
No, we didn't. We got that wrong, by the way. Yeah, I did say earlier in the first few episodes that it's the only time that it's brought up, and it's not the only time that it's brought up. But
Right. The second time.
there we go. I was wrong. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Jeff, for bringing that up.
Well, I was just gonna lay the blame at Harrison's feet since the Archlector is never wrong.
God
But
Damn it, Jeff!
but this is a great, it's a great chapter. And I like how Glocta will not let this go. You know, he's not gonna let go that Giselle cheated somehow, and also that no one remembered that Glocta was also a winner. Like when Hoff got up, made a speech, and was like, "We have Varuz, we have the commander of the Knights Herald, Major West, me, little old me, Morovia," and then like no one mentions Glocta, and he's like, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah.
So this chapter, I liked it a lot. It was 8 out of 9 for me. 8 out of 9 fingers. There we go. So yeah, you guys like that?
Yeah.
Good.
That's good. That's good. So let's move on to our next segment. Now, normally we'll do question of the week, but instead we shall. Harrison, you want to take this away?
Yeah, so I think we're going to probably mix it up from now on. We're going to start doing polls and more interactive things with the community. That was really the real reason for the question of the week. And so I posted a poll up as of yesterday. I posted it, I believe, here, or 2 days ago. And it was about everybody's favorite battles in their First Law series. So I will say from here on out, it is going to be spoilers. So if you guys want to skip ahead, you can skip ahead. But it is going to be spoilers from here on out in case you guys do are following along with us through the book or just through the podcast.
Right. So again, spoilers. Go ahead.
And so I posted it and basically gave 6 different options for everybody's favorite battle. I had the Battle of Dunbrack, Battle of Stauffenbach, Battle of the Cumnor, Battle of Austria, Battle of Red Hill, and Battle in the High Places. And I was going to put down the Battle of Carleon, the one with Rika and, gets Calder and everything in the Age of Madness, but I forgot about it. But the decisive winner is most certainly the Battle in the High Places. With 189 votes as of today, Sunday, with Stauffenbach coming behind it at 85 votes, and then Battle of Austria coming in at 25 votes, then Battle of Dunbrack at 17, and then Battle of Red Hill, and then Battle of the Cumnor. I really appreciate everybody who contributed to it, and there's a lot of comments on it as well. People saying why they had their favorite, which is really great to see. That's why we want to interact with everybody. But the Battle of the High Places, why do you guys like that battle, Jeff and George?
I love it just because I think one of the replies put it so well. It's just so claustrophobic. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Everyone's just like, I think I'm swinging my ass on the right guy, And it's dark, it's rainy, it's moody. The Shanker come at them at one point, and nobody knows how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nobody knows what's going on. And of course, we get the big fucking bloody 9 chapter, and he kills Tolduru, and it's such a big moment in the series.
Don't forget Crumicky Fail's son. That dude got split. I was like,
oh god, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, what?
And he's so merciless at that point as well. He's just like cleaved little
kid?
body and little
Even better.
into.
He's like a child. Ooh, I get to not let him grow up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the bloody 9 is basically like, it's actually a mercy to kill him in this world.
In case anyone's in case anyone is wondering, the Circle of the World podcast does not condone child murder.
No,
not at all.
Wait, the High Places is a crazy battle. It is, just and then Logan and who holds the center? It's Logan and Krummick, right? And then Dow holds one end, and Dogman and Grim hold the other end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like hearing like the secondhand accounts of like Dow just like swinging axes down at Shanka while they come up that wall, and like they alternate, like I don't want to say teams, but like it's Logan's crew and then it's Krummicky Fell's crew the next day or whatever. It is insane, especially that, like you said, the claustrophobic aspect when I guess the Bethod's warriors, not the thralls, I think the Carls, they breach the wall, and it's just a mismatch that like Logan is pinned shoulder to shoulder with people, and he can't swing. He's just trying to bite people's faces and shit. It is insane. That's insane.
And I think that really, really, really does show Joe's writing chops here, because this is just what a battle is like. There isn't any of this, one-on-one. You see this in movies a lot, where you get the two sides, they charge at each other, and then everyone just dissolves into like a one-on-one combat with each other.
Right.
It's not like that at all. You're pressed in, you don't know what the fuck's going on, you can barely see, and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just written so fucking well. And I have to agree with Stauffenbach as number 2 there as well.
Stauffenbach, yeah.
For the same reasons.
Yeah, especially that part with the pike, that guy holding the pike, and he sees the pike coming towards him. It's like, oh shit. And he can't do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you would have control in that sort of situation. You've got no control at all.
No, none. My personal favorites was the Battle of Dunbrack and Stauffenbach. Because Dunbrack, man, that's just epic, Hold the line! And then we're fucking... we're charging. And then, so I think it was Shivers or Dogman. He's like, we're fucking charging that? Like, the Fenris the Feared? He's like, yep, let's go. Oh, man, that was intense. That was intense.
And I love the whole thing with Burr having his episode. He's fallen really fucking ill, and Wes just kind of has to pretend that it hasn't happened.
Yeah, he basically assumes command, like, by proxy. Yeah.
It creates a whole nother level of tension there.
Like, Polder was going through it, too, because he was near the Northman in the woods, and Croy, who has the main lines drawn up in the more, I guess you could say, the open field. You could say he's pressed. He's like, "What the fuck, man?" Oh, man, that was such a well written battle too. That really was.
Yeah, I really like Stauffenbach is my personal favorite for the reason that you said, George. It feels very visceral, as many people said. Battle in High Places and Stauffenbach are both very visceral battles. Stauffenbach is my favorite just simply because there's a lot of moving pieces. You have the cannons on the left flank. You have Forrest holding in a bloody melee on the right flank. You have this kind of play off each other of Orso and Leo on both sides of the battlefield, trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. Orso, who's very organized but outnumbered, outgunned, and then Leo, who's not organized at all but has the better troops, has the more men, and it's really cool to see it all play out while having the tension of, we get the little people chapter basically, where we get to see all these men in the crush of the battle during the cannon fire in the pike line. There's just so many things going on, and it has like a little bit of all the good aspects of all the other battles that's come before it.
Well said. Well said. Stauffenbach is your personal favorite, right, Harrison?
Yeah.
And George, yours personal? Is it the High Places, like you said?
I think it is Stauffenbach, to be honest.
Oh, it's Stauffenbach. Okay, cool.
But the High Places is
Yeah,
a
the
close
High-
second.
Yeah,
High Places are amazing.
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, the battle in the High Places won. I was actually very surprised at Battle of Austria. People like that one quite a bit. For people who don't remember or people who haven't got to it yet, it's basically where Duke Rogan faces off against the Duke Orso, and they have their armies clashed. And Casca comes in and basically wins the day, specifically basically only for Monza.
By not
But
doing
it is
anything.
a really good battle.
Yeah, that's in Best Served Cold. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have to say, personally, I'm very surprised that the Battle of the Cumnor only got 5 votes. Because I really like this sort of, you get this sense of how
Chaotic.
hopeless the Union is and how unstoppable Bethord is.
Yeah, I really like that too. The Battle of the Cumnor, especially with when the mist comes in. It's very like it's almost like you're in a
Ominous.
horror movie. It's like, oh shit, Carl's coming out of the fucking mist. It's nice.
And I love the fact that little bastard, Ladisler's main man,
Oh yeah,
just gets chopped up.
yeah.
And you're like,
Lord Smund or something like that. Fucking
yeah, that's it, Lord
Smund.
Smund.
Hey, Lord Smund laid his life down for you.
You
He
mean
saved the prince.
he laid his head down for us? But
But thank you everybody who participated. It's gonna be up there for the rest of the week. But still, thank you for voting and being interactive and hearing your comments. It's really cool to see. Some of the great ones are just talking about, somebody said Dunbrack is their favorite about holding the line, which is what you said exactly, Jeff. People say Austria is really good. Somebody mentioned how, the characters, like a lot of these stuff you don't remember, but, the Battle in the High Places stands out. I think that speaks to why it won, is because it's just so memorable that you remember it. And by the time this comes out, for people who listen the same day, I'm going to also be releasing the best sieges, which I thought about putting Battle of the High Places underneath, simply because it kind of is a siege, but everybody refers to it as the Battle in the High Places later on.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not really a siege if all you're hiding behind is like a 4-foot tall cobblestone wall.
That's true.
yeah,
But I can't wait for the sieges one, because personally, the whole part with Dagoska, because it is the first half of Before the Hound from Glocta's point of view, is probably my favourite part of the whole series.
Really nice.
I love, and that is actually what brought me back to this originally. When I took a 2 or 3 year break from reading fantasy, especially. But whenever I thought about that, the sort of tension and the way everything's built up with Dagoska, that's immediately what made me go, I have to read these books again.
Nice.
Really,
Look
we have the Siege of Dagoska to thank for George being here today.
Yay! Yay! That's awesome, man. That's cool as shit.
And let us know what you guys think about us doing spoiler sections for our videos, because we have seen a lot of people talking about us wanting to do spoilers. The spoiler video got a very good reaction, and we just want to know what you guys think. So let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Why not? I had a question. Oh, real quick, Harrison, just if you don't mind, could you just read the description for our audience? Battle of the Red Hill.
Oh yeah, for people who don't remember what that one was, I actually had to look that one up as well because I remember what battle it was, but I remember the name of it. And I'm gonna make sure in the Siegers one to put the description in the first time, as soon as we pull it up. But the Battle of Red Hill is the Dogman in England versus Stauer Scheitfall whenever he is attacking in the little hatred. Dogman is holding that little ancient fortress up on the hill, and England is holding Stauer's main line in the center. So that's that. I think it's a pretty good battle. I think it's really interesting, and they have it's not quite as claustrophobic as the other ones. It's got more of a set piece to it. But it's also, there's a lot of like intense character moments, and you don't know what Rick is gonna actually, what she's actually seeing and what she is seeing.
Right. I wanted you to read the description just for that. Sour Scheifel. That's literally all I was trying to get you to do.
God, I fucking hate that guy.
He's such an annoying. Oh God.
He doesn't even do anything. He's just a little
No.
pumped up little. I hate him.
Seriously, like.
But we'll get to that.
We'll talk. We'll talk about that. Spoilers. All right. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really means a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover The House of the Maker.
And don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. We're at the Circle of the World.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you listen to podcasts on. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast, as it helps us. It helps us to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
I fucking old ass.